Release the Kraken!
Greetings, fellow game designers. Ron here at Lame Duck Studios. And today, we're going to be creating the images for our other ship. So go ahead and create a new file here. I'm going to do a 512 by 512 at 72 pixels per inch. So I have a preset here, but you can just type it in. Make sure you're in pixels. 512 by 512, 72. RGB color, we're at 8-bit. And then transparent for the background. And hit create. Let's go ahead and drag in our reference image. I can just orient this. I can hold down the shift key and then just drag so it orients in the correct direction. And that looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and just scale this up. If you want it to do a non-uniform scale or whichever. So Photoshop's a bit weird. Sometimes it's hold shift to keep it to maintain aspect ratio. And sometimes it's not holding shift. It just depends on its mood that day. Today it is holding shift to maintain. So I'm just going to go ahead and just scale this up so that I can see these real well. There we go. Here's my front image. And I'll hit the checkbox. And I will lock my reference by clicking the little lock icon. So now this is locked. I'll create a new... go away. I'll create a new layer by clicking the little new layer icon. And now I can start working. I got it. Go away. Thank you. All right. So last time we created our ships using the Shapes tool, which is down here in the corner here. Today I want to show you how to do it freehand, just because some artists prefer doing it in freehand. I like to be more precise and use my shapes, but sometimes freehand is fine. So I'm going to come over and find my brush icon, which is this guy right here. I'm going to click and hold, and we have a brush tool. We also have a pencil tool. And if I take the brush and then hover over my image, make sure I'm on my layer 1 here. If I draw, I get this kind of line, and it's got a soft edge. And of course, if I right click, I can change the size of my brush, and I can adjust the hardness or softness. So right now it's 100%. And you can see when I draw, I have a very sharp line, but I still have a round side here. I can make that softer, and then I have a much softer edge on here. That's all up to you. If you want a really sharp brush, click and hold, come down to the pencil tool, and now whenever I click, let me go ahead and just click and drag. This is going to be very pixelated, very sharp. Go ahead and pick your style brush. I'm going to use the pencil for this, so I'm going to go ahead and just set this down to maybe, I'll do 5. I think 5 is a good line width. And now I'm going to draw out my shape. I'm going to go ahead and just name this one front. I'll zoom in a little bit. It's Alt and middle mouse wheel to zoom. And I'll just hover my mouse over one of these corners here. I'm going to click. And if I hold down the Shift key as I click, I can draw a straight line just like that. Look at that. If I want to do down, I can just go over onto my corner here, go ahead and click, and then hold Shift, and then go down. And now I have a straight line. You can see that here. You can see how this straight line is a lot nicer than my drawing. Then I'll go ahead and click about here, hold Shift, go to the side, same deal, click, hold Shift, and then go up. Now you can see the reason freehanding is a little bit messy is our lines as we freehand are not perfectly precise. So I have some things I have to trim up here. But it's okay. I'm going to go ahead and just continue on and make these shapes here. So to make my triangle, actually I do this triangle first. I'm going to go over to the corner of my triangle. I want to go kind of like up like this and then down, but that's not very precise. Photoshop allows us to get diagonal lines nice and crisp. If I go ahead and just click on this corner, and then I come up to the tip of the triangle, hold Shift, and then click, it's going to draw me a diagonal line like that. And I can go ahead and click here again, go down to the next corner, hold Shift, click again, and it'll draw me a very precise triangle. And there's this edge right here, so I'll go ahead and just add this edge in. So I'll go ahead and click, and then for this I'll just hold down Shift, and I'll drag down. Nice. And I'll just make these triangles kind of the same way. So again, click, hold Shift, and then these ones are supposed to be flat on one side, but you can see I drew them very poorly. So I'm going to go up to here. I'll do my click, come down, and then click. Now I have this sharp triangle here. Same kind of deal this way. Since I drew this bad, I'm just going to eyeball it, and then straight down. And then straight down. So there is this shape. And I also have these here. So I go from corner to here. So click, hold shift, and then click. Click the corner, hold shift, and click. And then I will do the middle. Like so. And there is this outline. Now this may not be super precise. So one of the ways that you can make sure that it's really precise is we can clone the image and then just flip it. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just clean up my corners here. I'll grab my selection tool here. And I'll draw a selection box. And I'm going to just go up to the bottom edge of my drawing here. And I keep getting these pop-ups, which is really just kind of annoying. Let me see if I can hide this thing. There we go. Okay, so now with my selection drawn, if I use the up and down arrows, I can move the selection. I'll just nudge the selection up a little bit to where I think it's right on the line. I can zoom in real close to see. So get it like right on the line there. And if I press the delete key, it'll just cut away the stuff that I don't want. And I can kind of do that again up here. So I'll drag a selection box, and I'll just get it nice and tight up against that line, and then delete, get rid of the stuff I don't want. I can do that here. And then I can do that on this end here. So I'll draw a selection box, get it right up against the line, and then cut away what I don't want. Awesome. And then I can zoom out. To get rid of a selection, all you gotta do is press Control and then the D key. So Control D to deselect. So here is my shape. If I want to make sure it's super precise, I can copy it and then clone it over. So I'll drag a selection, and I'll go halfway through my image here. So that looks about halfway. I'm going to press the delete key to cut away half of it. And then I'm going to take this image here. I'm going to hold the Alt key and then drag it down. So now I have a copy. See that? I'll grab a move tool. I'm going to turn off auto select, and I'm going to select the image using my layers. So I'll grab the image here. So now I can move this without grabbing my background. And let's flip it. Let's go to Edit. We'll go down to Transform, and then we'll go down to Flip Horizontal. And now I have another half that is flipped. And I'll just line this up. And the smart guides will help snap it together, which is really nice. And now this side and that side are exactly the same, and everything is right in the world. And all I gotta do is merge these two images together. So if I select both, you can hold Shift and then click to grab both of them. Right click and then merge layers. And now this is a single layer, nice and pretty. Yay. Now let's do the color. I'm gonna go ahead and hit a new layer. I'll name this front color. Put that down here. I'll change this one to front outline. Just double click the word to get the name there. And I'll do front outline. Awesome. I'll grab the front color. And then I'll pick my color from my color picker up here. Actually, I think like a metallic gray would be good. Maybe do just a little hint of blue. Yeah, that works. And for that, I'm just going to fill in the background of this. Now, I can take my outline, and I can grab my paint bucket tool. It's right underneath this little window here. If I click and hold and grab my paint bucket, I can paint bucket in my color. But I like having my color separate so I can change it. So I'm going to go ahead and just undo that. Make sure I'm on my color layer. Undrag a selection box. And I will draw in a selection for my color, like so. Again, I'm on the color layer. And now I can paint bucket in my color there. And then I will deselect, Control D. And now these are separate, so I can remove my outline if I want to. And I can always swap out the color later if I want to. I'm going to keep myself on the color layer. I'm going to go up into here. And for this, I really could just paint in. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush, And then I will just drag to paint. I'll do the same thing on this side, like so. And I'll fill this one in as well. It's going to be very precise, like that. And look, I can still hide my outline. And you can see places that I kind of missed because this was in the way. But nobody's going to see those, right? So I don't have to worry about that. If it bugs you, you can always turn your outline off and fill it in. But nobody's going to see that. Is my ship nice and colored? And maybe for this window up here, maybe this I might do more glassy, right? So I can come up, maybe change this to like this kind of color. And I can fill this in with something else. Oh, that's much nicer. Yeah. So you don't have to be all using the same color. You can use whatever color you like. All right, so there's my front. Now if I go over to my side view, you can see I actually don't have enough space here for my side view. So I'll zoom out. Let's go up to image, come down to canvas size. And let's go ahead and add on another section for our side view. So I'll change this to %. Now I'll change the value for my % to be 300 because I want to have 2 more spaces for my side and my top. And I will pin this to the left. That way it goes this way to the right. And I'll hit OK. And you can see now I have my other side views, or my side and my top right here. So here we go. We have my side view. And you can see my side view and my front view are identical. That means if you look at the top view, this thing is pretty much the same on all sides. So I can just copy my front view. I'll go up to my move tool. I'm going to grab my front view pieces here. And then I will set them into a folder. So I'll click the folder icon. And I'll call this front. And then Alt, middle mouse click to drag, let it go. Here's my side. I'll go ahead and name it side. Okay. Now we could just ignore the side view and just use the front twice. We totally could, and that's perfectly fine. In this particular case, I am going to make my other side view, but you don't always have to do that. Okay, I'm just going to just move this over, and there's my side. Now I want to make sure I have even spacing for my panels here. So I'm going to go up to Edit, come down to Preferences, and then go over to Guides, Grid, and Slices. Come down to our grid, and then grid line every. I'll do this as 512. And then we want the subdivisions to be 1, and we can leave everything else as default. You're welcome to change whatever you like, but I just want to do this here, and I'll hit OK. And now I'm going to turn on my grid lines, or my guidelines. So I'll go up to View, I'm going to come down to Show, and then go to Grid. And when I do that, we get these really, really faint grid lines right here. Okay? To make those more visible, you can change those in Preferences, Guides, Grids, and Slices. And right now, you can see that the grid line is set to a custom color, and it's currently gray. I can change that to like something very, very obvious. I'll do a bright red. And then hit OK. And now I have my guidelines right here, and you can see them probably a lot easier than they were just a few seconds ago. And what I'm going to do is just make sure that my images are centered on this grid. Easiest way to do that is I'm going to move it, grab my front, I'll just move this to where the smart guides align it to center. Now you can see as I'm doing this, it's not snapping really well. So one thing I can do is instead of doing this every 512 units, I can break it up into quarters so that I have a split here and then one in the middle. So if I go up to Edit and then come down to Preferences and do Guides, Grids, and Slices again. Let's change this from 512, and we'll do this half of 512. So we'll do 256. And you can see as I drop in 256, it's going to split each one of my sections into 4 boxes. And it shows me exactly where my middle is. I'll hit OK. I'll just move this so it's center. Yeah, like that. And zoom in just to kind of see where those pixels are. It looks like it's pretty good. Now, because I have an odd number of pixels in the middle, I'm not getting a really good slice, but it's okay. I'm just going to lean it over one side or the other. I'll do the same thing over here. I'm going to zoom out just so I can see where my guideline is. So my next one is actually going to be over some. So let me go ahead and grab the side view. And remember that the end of this window is actually here. So I'm going to go over one more group. And I'll just move this down like so. I'm going to move over to here. I'm going to unlock my background. So unlock that. And then I will drag it so that I can get my top view. Go ahead and zoom in here. Let me make a new layer. This is going to be my top outline. So top outline. Well, let's go ahead and freehand this in. This is going to be pretty quick. Where's my brush? Okay. I'm going to make my square. So do click. I'll do drag. Oops, and I have the wrong color. I'm going to go ahead and Control Z. And I'll just change my color back to black. I can press the D key, and that'll reset everything. There we go. Now I'll just go ahead and click, and then hold Shift, and then drag that across. Same thing for the down. So click, hold Shift, and drag down. Click, hold Shift, drag over. And then click, hold Shift, drag up. There's this. Let me get my triangle, so I'll click, and then go up to the top, hold Shift, and then click, hold Shift, go down. There's that. And I'll do this internal one here. So I'll click, hold Shift, and I'll drag down, and then come over to here, hold Shift and click to get the diagonal, and then I will click and then hold Shift to drag across. That's pretty good. And then for this one, I'm going to quarter of the triangle. So I'll do click. Come over to one of the corners, hold Shift and click, and then I'll hold Shift as I drag across to get this, and then I'll click and hold Shift to go up. Now I did just a quarter of this because we're going to cheat. Now check this out. So I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go ahead and get my selection tool here, and I will drag a box over, and I want it to be kind of in the middle of that. And I'll go up kind of in the middle of this one as well. That looks pretty good. Now I'm losing a bit on the end here, but I'll fix it in just a minute. So I'm going to Control C and then Control V. I'll turn off my original outline, and then I will grab my move tool. I'll move this. So here's this one. Now check this out. I'm going to make 4 of them. I'm going to hold Shift and just drag. So here's this one. And then I'm going to flip it. So Edit, Transform, and then Horizontal Flip. So now I have this side. And I'll use the smart guides to line it up. So now there's this part, and then I will merge these two. So this one and this one. I'll grab both. Again, hold Shift to select. Right click, merge it. And now I'm going to use this to make the rest of this. So I need this to be here. That's pretty good here. I need to do these corners and then this lower half. So I'll just hold Alt and then drag. It gives me my copy. And then I can rotate this. So I'll hit Control T. That gives me my option to edit. I'll hold down the Shift key and then hover my mouse outside one of the corners so I get this curved arrow. And I'll just rotate and get this all the way down. And with the checkbox. And that kind of snapped into place, but if it didn't for you, you can use your arrow keys to kind of nudge it the way that you like it to be. It looks pretty good. I'm going to merge these two together, so this one and this one. I'll grab the top and the bottom. Go ahead and right click and then merge layers. So now I have this, and now I just want to get these triangles onto here. So easiest way to do that is just to take a selection of it. So I'll grab the selection tool, and I'll select the triangle that I want. And then I will select the move tool, hold Alt and then drag. And see that? I have the triangle. Now this, be very careful, you'll see down here, it did not make a new layer. That means that this selection is part of the current layer. And if I were to deselect, this triangle is going to be part of this picture. Okay? So just be very careful. If you're doing it this way, it's going to become part of the picture, which is fine. You just have to be aware of how your tools work. So I'll do Control T. That's going to give me the option to rotate, and then I'll hold Shift and just rotate this into position. And then I'll move it to where I think it should go. Hopefully I'm right. I'll hit the checkbox. And now I want to do the other side, so without dropping my selection, I'll hold down Alt and then drag it. So now I have a new one. This one is now permanent. This is the new one. I'll do Control T, hold Shift, and then rotate this around. I'll move that into position over here. Hopefully that's good. I'm just going to eyeball it, hit the checkbox, and then I will deselect, Control D. Now I have my shape. Ah, yay. Now this, unlike my other shapes, which are sitting on the grid line, I'm going to put this one center on the top here. So I'm going to take this down, move it center on the grid. And the reason for this is when I bring it into Maya, I want my top view to be centered on the grid just like this is. And that's just going to make it pretty much plug and play. It'll drop in perfectly. I don't have to worry about it. All right, let's go ahead and add on some color. I can hide my background. Let's add on a background here. I'll come down to this little black and white circle. Come up to solid color. And I'll pick a gray, just because it's a little easier on the eyes. And I'll move my background all the way down to the bottom. Awesome. Let's go ahead and lock that so I don't move it. So this is my outline. I can go ahead and get rid of the old outline. Go ahead and just delete that. This new one, I'll name this Top Outline. And I'm going to do the top color. Now I'm going to show you a quick trick. So with my top outline, I'm going to hold down Alt and then drag down to make a copy. I'll name this one Top Color. Last time, we went ahead and filled these in by hand. This time, I'm going to go ahead and just paint bucket in. So I'm going to hide my outline layer, and they're identical. That's why they look the same. Make sure I have my color, and whatever color I want for this, I'm going to pick. So I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to borrow the colors that are already on this image. So I'll grab the color picker, which is this guy, and I'll click to get the one color, get my paint bucket tool, and then I will paint bucket this in right here. Make sure I'm on my top color. So I'll paint bucket in. And I'll do that on the corners. And then I'll get my little eyedropper tool again. Pick the blue color that I had before. Get my paint bucket. And then I will paint bucket this in on these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And now I have just the color filled, and I can remove the outline if I want to. So I'll grab my magic erase tool. So eraser, click and hold, and we go down to magic erase. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up, make sure I have my magic erase tool again. Come to our tolerance, and I'm going to uncheck the anti-aliasing box. So uncheck anti-alias, and I'll click. Now that'll be a very sharp removal of color. Then just do that here and on these. Okay, so now it truly is just the color, and this one truly is just the outline, and I have independent control over each section because I have them grouped like that. All right, go ahead and grab both of those, add them to a group, and this is going to be my top group. I'll zoom out. There we have it. We have our front, top, and side. And if you want to name these, you most certainly can. Go ahead and grab yourself a text tool over here. and then click and drag to draw yourself some text. It'll drop in with some garbage text. Just hit delete. Pick your text size up here. Pick your font up here, whatever font you want. I'm currently using Impact Regular. And this is going to be my front. I'll grab my Move tool. I'm going to hold down Alt, left click and drag to make a copy. And then in here, I can grab my Type tool again. Click on my previous type. And then I'll do this one as side. Grab a Move tool. Alt, click and drag. Place it however you like. Grab your text tool again. Click inside the text. And this will be my top. There we go. So we have our two sides and our top. Now, one thing we didn't do, and you can actually tell by looking at the pictures here, we did not make sure that this image is the right size to match our side and our front views. So I'm going to grab my top layer. Actually, let's go ahead and just reorganize this. You can see all these little T's. These are our text. I'll just make sure these are at the very, very top of my list here. So I'll drag those all the way up. And then down here, I'll grab my top object. You can kind of blink the eye to make sure you know what you grab. And I'm going to move this just over here. And you can see by comparison, this is not the right size here. So I'll hit Control-T to edit it. I'll grab the corner, and I'll drag. And again, sometimes Photoshop is picky. Right now it's allowing me to resize without holding Shift. If I hold Shift, it'll maintain. So it really depends on what your Photoshop, the mood of your Photoshop that day. So this one requires me to hold Shift today for some reason. It changes all the time. So anyway, I'm just going to keep resizing this until it's roughly the right size. Now there is a downside to doing it this way, and that is because I'm working with just drawn on pixels, the outline of this is going to get extra thick. But hey, that's just something you have to kind of deal with when you're doing freehand. So that looks like it's about the right width. And I'll move that over. I'm going to go ahead and hit the checkbox here. And now I'll center this again. Make sure we're good and centered. Looks like we are. Okay. And now officially we have our front and our side and our top finished. We can save our work. So save as. Make sure my file type is Photoshop. This is going to be my, enemy ship reference. So enemy ship references. And if you have a different enemy or you have like a boss or whatever and you want to use a different Photoshop file, make sure you just name it appropriately. So here's my enemy ship. I'll save that. And then File, Save Copy. And I'll save it out as a PNG. So enemy ship, I'll do reference, and then I'll do this as PNG. So in the drop down, just make sure you get that there. You see that I have my ship 1, I have my ship 2 and ship 3. So just go ahead and label it appropriately. So this is going to be my ship 3. I'll do this one as tut for tutorial. Alrighty, and that's going to do it for this video. In the next one, we're going to go ahead and model this, so stay tuned, and I shall see you next time. Hey guys, thank you for checking out my channel. Misty and I both thank you. If you enjoyed that video you just watched, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. Or if you want to support the channel, check me out on Patreon, or pick up one of my books, Life at Times Dinah Marton, or The Guardian's Path of Ascension. Speaking of which, I'm converting The Guardians into a graphic novel / comic book series. Here is a sneak peek. My wonderful artist, Patrick, is doing a great job. I'm excited. I want to push this out as soon as possible. So definitely keep your ears and eyes open for that. I'll be making announcements as we get closer, and I'll post some shots of that as we go. And if you want to follow me on social media, you can check me out on Twitter. I guess now it's X. Who does that? It's BruceRF1. at Twitter or at whatever the new thing for Twitter is. Anyway, hopefully see you there, and I'll see you guys next time.